Hey, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Honest Conversations with Mo, the Mo Love Podcast. We're back at it with another one. Um, yeah, I hope everybody's doing well out there. And I guess, get right into it. It was this quote I recently saw. I think it's from an old Western movie, but this quote it talks about the concept of uh print the legend, is that when the legend becomes fact, you print the legend. And I look at that in the sense of when we think about who kind of the ideal version of ourselves, or kind of the legend we kind of put out there for ourselves, that we kind of print that version and print that as fact instead of the factual ideal version of ourselves, because I think it's sometimes hard to accept the real fact of who we are. And so instead, we print the legend, and allow people to run with that, and run with the ideal of who we are, and understanding that in reality, we can't never meet that ideal because it's almost, in a sense, so unimaginable that it seems so unattainable that um so it's it's easier to have it be the reality that we believe, instead of the reality that we live in. um so I think when we look at how we're choosing to print the legend, um are we choosing to print what is actually factual about ourselves? And that kind of leads into the next topic I want to get into, and that's the concept of what it means to be contagious. What does being contagious look like? And then understanding that anything can be contagious, in a sense, as I said here, where we print this ideal reality of ourselves, and that becomes, you know, the thing that catches on to people, that becomes contagious, and people, buy into it. But anything can be contagious in terms of how we choose to present it. And it's just a matter of how we message, how we choose to control the message, and in terms of highlighting what it is we're trying to convey, and allowing it to truly, catch on, properly. Where virality isn't born, virality is made. Where this ideal version of ourselves doesn't have to be what we choose to live in. We could choose to truly show, ourselves, and who we are, and allowing that to be, allowing that to go viral, allowing that to be what's made. Um, and that then shifts into what I want to get into next, in terms of what that looks like in terms of being, contagious, and just in terms of with how we're choosing, print the legend, about ourselves, and kind of about life, is, this concept of, hide and seek. Because, essentially, life is, kind of is a game of hide and seek, where we're either playing to win, or playing to win versus conquering nature. So when we're playing to win, we're allowing our true selves to really be seen, and really be shown and showcased, versus where we're conquering nature. We're trying to control the narrative. We're trying to control those sides of ourselves that we don't want to reveal to others, in terms of who we truly are, and who we are as people. So when we realize that in life, that regardless of, how we choose to kind of control the outcome or try to control things. That as long as we come and present ourselves as our genuine selves, and kind of, and also in terms of also accepting, who we are, we're able to play to win properly, versus feeling this need to um, conquer nature, because that what creates that, almost that woe is me attitude, because you feel like life isn't fair. But like I said, life is a game of hide and seek. Is, what's shown to us is, who we really are and who we are in our inner core. And as long as we come to accept that version of ourselves, and then come to accept and come to terms with that part of ourselves, we're able to play the game, play the game of life to win. Versus feeling like where we need to conquer, and where we feel like, oh, when we're falling short, or certain aspects where we fall short. But in reality, that was just, all part of the grand scheme of things, in this thing called life, where what we see is really what is, and it's just accepting that, and that allows us to really kind of grow in that sense. Because as long as we come to terms with, as I would say, come to terms with knowing who you are, coming to terms with, your greatest attributes, and highlighting those, instead of, like I said, printing that legend, that part of yourself that you created, this ideal perception of who you are, um, doesn't, is very much, disingenuous to yourself, and in counterpart, disingenuous to society, because it allows, it's almost, as I said, is you hiding that part of yourself, and not truly, seeking out and really engaging properly with the world, because it requires acceptance, to really play to win, versus where we're feeling this need to conquer, is we're almost looking, at our faults. We're not coming to terms with, that dark side of ourselves, and knowing, all those parts of ourselves make us who we are. Um, so it's very, and I think, just be mindful of, how do you choose to, play to win, and knowing that, as I said, it can be, anything can be contagious. Any idea can be contagious. It's just a matter of how you're choosing to present it. So the part of you that is true to you can be something that people will choose to accept, as long as you're willing to accept that within yourself. Um, and next, I want to get into, as you all know, um, it's the WNBA playoffs time. We are here. It is the playoffs within the W, and it's an exciting time. As you all know, today though, unanimous MVP Asia Wilson, and her spark, spark, wow, but and the Aces go up against the Storm, 4 or 5 seed in that matchup. The New York Liberty earlier today won. They beat the Atlanta Dream. I say it was like 83-60 something, 68 or something like that. And then also the Connecticut Sun took down the Indiana Fever in 93-69. And right now, Nafisa Collier, Fee, oh man, cooking right now. And the Lynx are up at the time of this recording. They up, I want to say it was like, last time I checked, it was like 50-29. So I don't know. I know Asia got her third MVP this year, going for the third ring. I don't know if I want to push next year the agenda of MVP in the FISA Collier, or do we want to go full time, Aces, full time champ, full time, MVP with Asia. I don't know. I'm gonna figure that out. But as far as the playoffs this year, I mean, we got some good matchups. I think the Indiana Sun, Connecticut Sun matchup, the Fever Sun matchup is going to be a good one. Obviously, wasn't showcased today, but just in terms of understanding, the Fever like the running gun. As long as their shots are falling, clearly weren't falling today because of the incredible defense of the Suns team and how they play incredible team defense, led by the Queen of Straps, and Dejanay Carrington, locking it down. Um, Dejanay locking down Kelsey or Caitlin, Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark from time to time. Alyssa Thomas cooking, DeWanna Bonner. That whole Suns team and how they play together. Marina Mayberry showed out. I think she scored 27 off the bench today. So that Fever team, I mean, that Suns team is going to be tough out. I think in three, I think they do win the next game and kind of wrap up the series. I think Indiana is just not their time yet. They're still too young. They're figuring it out. And I know they had a, incredible second half run post Olympic break and, having that, that rest period helped their team in that continuity. But I think they're just not, just not there yet in terms of uh, realizing their full potential as a team, and it's all new to them. The playoffs is a whole different beast. So I do think the Connecticut Sun are going to win that series. Then we got who we got the Lynx. This Lynx Mercury series. I think the Lynx gonna wrap it up. Feed how she showed out in this first half. I think she had 19 early on when I last checked, of course. So yeah, Feed cooking. Kayla, that whole team, once they offense just can't be stopped. And I don't think, and I think just knowing how badly uh the Mercury played defense all season, weren't really top notch defensive squad. I think the series is pretty much a wrap. Just even shown by today's game, that'll be pretty much a wrap. Next going into the Liberty Dream series. That's gonna be. I think I don't know. It's like Atlanta, but it is AC 8-1. I think yeah, it's a wrap there too. Just know Brianna, Sabrina, uh, Betnaja, Jonquel. They all just the 1 8 seed and uh. Alicia Gray can't do it herself. Alyssa Gray can't do it herself. So it's like, all right. Uh, and who is what's her name? Damn, I can't think of her name. Tina, yeah, Tina can't. It's just not enough that they have over there in Atlanta with the Dream right now to defeat the Liberty. So I think that series, it's gonna be a sweep as well there. So best of three within the W within the first round, then it's best of five throughout. Then I think the closest series will be that Aces Storm series, because when I tell you Skylar Dickens is hooping, Gabby Williams has been a uh, good pickup for them. Towards the tail end of the season, but I go with my Aces, Asia. Unanimous MVP. Uh, I do think they pull it out. I think that one's probably the one that goes three. And the Aces win 2-1, so it's going to be interesting. And then overall, my early prediction, and I kind of said it, I'm going to go with, I think we do get a rematch. I think we see Liberty, Liberty Aces, but oh man, it's going to be interesting. Because let me look at the bracket and how it kind of plays out. When I'm looking at that bracket, I think it's 4 or 5 plays. Oh yeah, when looking at the bracket, we got Aces Storm, And Aces Storm play Fever Sun matchup. Oh, yeah, Aces Suns. Oh, that's gonna be a fun one when it comes down to that. Oh, dang, I don't know. The way Fee just showed out today is just, I don't know. I think I'm gonna go out on a limb. Actually, we're gonna change it up. We're gonna go Aces Lynx in the championship, and it's gonna be. Wait, no. Am I looking at the bracket right? No, I am not looking at it right. I think I'm looking at it. They changed the format this year. Let's see. Because they completely changed the format. So the new format is the obviously one plays 8, 4, 5. So we're gonna get Liberty Aces in the second round, and then we're gonna get Lynx Suns in the third round. Oh, then I'm going Aces Lynx. Yep, I'm still sticking with Aces Lynx as my early finals WNBA finals prediction. And what I think is going to be the WNBA finals is Aces Lynx. Aces in. Aces in. Yeah, I think that goes 5. Aces and 5. Aces and 5. Yeah, Aces and 5. Yeah, that's gonna be that's gonna be a good one. Oh, I forgot Aces Liberty and they changed it up. Oh, that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be fun. So yeah, early on WNBA playoffs, man. If y'all not watching, tune in. Support women's sports. And yeah, it's gonna be a fun playoffs. I do think this first round is gonna be real quick light work on the teams because the matchup outside of maybe that Storms Aces series because Skylar Dickens Smith ain't playing around. But I do think as long as you got Asia Wilson, you got a chance. And when it comes to the championship, when you got Asia Wilson, you got a chance. So I do think the Aces will three-peat. So it's gonna be fun. Hope y'all tune in and continue to watch WNBA playoffs. And then next, of course, we got to get into the NFL. We had week 2, the week of the upsets last week, including my Falcons, because I don't know why Nick Sirianni decided to have, that your play action, pass to the flat, to Barkley, to Saquon. Saquon dropped it. It was a 3rd and 3. It was under the 2-minute warning. So that's what didn't make sense to me either, because it was under 2. I think we had no timeouts left. So if you run it there, they pretty much secured the win. But as I said, I'm glad they did it, and my Falcons pulled out the victory. Kirk Cousins had a beautiful 2-minute drive, 2-minute game-winning drive to pretty much seal it. Jesse Bates with the pick to fully seal the game. And yeah, we play the Saint, not the Saint, we play the Chiefs tonight. It's gonna be a tough one. Patty Mahomes, although he doesn't have his usual array of weapons, Pacheco out, Clyde Edwards-Helaire still not back, probably till I think it was week 5. I mean, still got Rasheed Rice, you got Xavier Worthy, you got Trav. So it's gonna be interesting on my Falcons, match up in that game Sunday night tonight. Did see the Eagles did beat the Saints, so happy about that. 15-12. The Bucks got smacked by the Broncos. So I guess they came back to reality. We'll see. And then other scores around the league. I think the Giants ended up winning. Who else was a major game that I saw that I was paying attention to earlier? I think the Ravens are playing right now. I don't know the score of that right now. So yeah, we get the upsets in week 2. I mean, the Raiders beat the Ravens last week. Ravens still without a loss. Lamar figuring it out. But I mean, like I said, they were up 10 last week. Should have won that game. You run the ball, you probably secure that win. Who else got upset? The Niners got upset. The Niners lost to. The Niners lose to. I know it was a close game. I just can't remember who the Niners lost to. Uh, then the Chargers came into Carolina and pretty much cost Bryce Young his job, which I completely don't think is Bryce Young's fault. Uh, why the Panthers are so bad, but I mean, if you feel the need is at quarterback and you want to throw in Andy Dalton, go right ahead. So yeah, it's interesting. Uh, let's see. I can't remember who did the Niners lose to because it was shocking. The Niners. Who did the Niners lose to? Week 2. Uh, Bengals, of course, lost to the Chiefs. I mean, that man, Maserati Marv, cooked last week. Him, Kyler. They cooked the Texans on Sunday night last week. CJ's still him, man. I'm telling y'all, CJ is him. CJ Stroud is him. Who did the Niners lose to? Because it was just so shocking. I was to the Vikings. That's who it was. Sam Darnold and the Vikings. And Jet cooked on that 97-yard touchdown. Jet Jefferson. Steelers continue to look good with Justin Fields and their defense controlling things, dominating. As I saw week 1 against my Falcons. And Justin Fields just, doing his job, managing the game. I don't know if Russell gets his job back. We'll see. I don't know if Russell played today. Because from week 3, quick score updates from the earlier games. Jets, of course, beat the Patriots on Thursday night. Giants beat the Browns, like I said. Eagles beat the Saints. Happy about that. They 2-1, Bucks 2-1. So as long as we get that win tonight, we're right back in the division race. Because if we would have lost last week, oh man, 0-2 staring us in the face would have been tough. So I'm glad Saquon dropped that ball. Really glad Saquon dropped that ball. Packers got the win over the Titans. Colts beat the Bears. Steelers doing their thing. Defense is doing their thing. 20-10 on the Chargers. What a game. Okay, Carolina showing out. Hold up. I just saw a score update. Carolina are cooking the Raiders right now. That is bananas to say the least because sheesh, we were not expecting that. Okay, shout out to Andy Dalton, I guess, for doing his thing. Let's see, Steelers. Let's see. Obviously, it's clearly the defense. Let's see what Justin Fields did today. Once again, Justin Fields did just enough. He did have a pick today. He had a turnover, but 246 yards, a touchdown. Their running game continues to, carry him. Yeah, they playing well, man. And as long as that still is defense, that still curtain defense, man, continues to hold it up. So they 3-0. Wow. Panthers are up 21-7 on the Raiders. Oh man, what is Andy Dalton doing? All right, looking at this, Andy's got 3 touchdowns. Andy's got 3 touchdowns, 228 yards. Deontay Johnson finally get to cook. Was Bryce the problem then? I don't know. I mean, their whole line is atrocious, but okay, this is showing otherwise. And then let's see the Ravens game real quick. Oh, Seahawks upset. Well, that's not surprising. Seahawks upsetting the Dolphins because Tua's. Dang, that's the interesting thing about Tua, man. Obviously on IR now, so it's gonna be interesting moving forward to see how he chooses. I think it's his third or fourth concussion in his career. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And then Cowboys are get smacked by Lamar, 21-6. So, interesting week 3. Hopefully, my Falcons pull out the rest of the win, pull out the win tonight. As we continue, to secure, the South, the NFC South, which has been a surprising division nonetheless to start out the season early on because Nobody's expecting, especially for me, I was not expecting the Saints offense to come out cooking like they are, but they're doing one thing a lot of teams are doing, and that's continuing to run the ball in the red zone. As I noticed that last week with my Falcons, where we would not continue to run the ball in the red zone. We would just, as soon as we got to the red zone, because Bijan would get us down to the red zone. Bijan and Tyler would get us down to the red zone, and then all of a sudden we want to throw it. So I'm just like, okay. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting how we, play tonight. Are we able to shut down Chris Jones? Can Caleb McGarry handle, that right side up against Chris Jones? Um, as well as I think they have Karlaftis that comes off that right end when Chris Jones goes up against the left tackle, or when he goes up against Jenks. So Caleb McGarry's gonna have his hands full tonight. Offense has to show up. Defense definitely has to step up. They've been doing a great job stepping up. They've been shocking us and shocking myself. So got to continue to progress with that. So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be fun. Um, it's an early good, good early start to the NFL season. I'm glad I enjoyed that shocking win last week because I really did think it was time to hit the panic button. And Kirk go out here not being able to move. We did finally get him on the center, play action, beautiful, and that's what allowed our offense to flow last week. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how it continues to progress tonight, and against the tough Chiefs team, the defending back-to-back champs, as they look for a three-peat. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. Um, and then obviously, before we close it out, we want to obviously get into the top four. And favorite album of late. Favorite album. I did listen to that Future album earlier this weekend. It didn't really hit like that. And I love me some Future Hendrix, but I don't know. And I love Pluto Future too, but it just ain't hit, man. It just ain't hit. But I mean, it was a good album. Oh, the Big Sean album, solid. I did get a chance to listen to that. That's real good. And then just continue to listen to my mixes and my playlists that I have throughout. Favorite show to watch right now? Oh, I watched this show yesterday, American Sports Story, the Aaron Hernandez story. Oh my gosh, it is impeccable, and I think it's an interesting look. Especially, I love the cinematography of it, from where like a lot of the camera shots are like the back of the character who's playing Aaron Hernandez's head, and it's like a good job on like the psyche of why he was who he was, or what whether it was the CTE in a sense, early stages of CTE, or just the paranoia that he was living in within his own mind, or whether it was I don't know if this to be true or not. And I think the show dramatizes this a lot in terms of his sexuality, which is interesting perspective on that, if that did contribute to kind of what he was hiding. And I think it also goes back to kind of my earlier topic of kind of printing the legend, where the part of Aaron Hernandez we saw was obviously the star tight end, the guy who dominated in New England, that was, speed and strength and, incredible skill set as a tight end, and, receiver and blocker, inline blocker and everything, his skill set on the football field. And that was his legend. But, you know, the, the, I guess and that was the legend he printed, and he allowed people to run with, versus, the part of himself that maybe he didn't come to accept and come to terms with. So I was interested, and then obviously the speaks on the relationship of his dad, the influence that played in his life, and losing his dad when he was in high school, at an early age, and just understanding that his how tough his dad was on him, and how that correlated to where he would eventually go to Florida, and would have a tough tough as nails coach and Urban Meyer that pushed him just the same to kind of get to where he ultimately wanted to go, but maybe that isn't necessarily what he needed for his life. Because I think the last episode stops on the second episode that I finished watching stopped on like where he almost got kicked out of Florida, but all he did was get a slap on the wrist, with a 1 game suspension because of the bar fight that he had with because his friends came to town, got into a fight, and there was a and then there was also the one with the shooting as well that happened at the bar as well. So I think it's just knowing how all those different outside influences contributed to this paranoia, and kind of where and obviously it's fully very much traumatized, but it shows where parts of Aaron Hernandez that the world didn't know because he didn't choose to make that as fact. That wasn't what he made as fact. The legend that we know of Aaron Hernandez, the football player, the star tight end and everything, that was what was printed as fact. Instead of, the issues, he had, adjusting to, Florida life, at the University of Florida, dealing with, his, his dad's death, and all of that. Those are, that's probably the legend that should have been printed and probably could have saved them from the obviously, we obviously know present day, ultimately what his demise was and uh what led to his eventual suicide. So it's just interesting just to see that show, and it's just an interesting piece as I continue to watch it, and we'll get more insight, and as the story continues, obviously knowing the end result, but it's just an interesting. It's just I don't know. I just find it fascinating because it's just how we sometimes see the 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 individual, and but what is it that they were really dealing with, and what essentially what they always say, what was it that was his breaking point. I think it'll be interesting to see eventually what that was, whether it was, like I said, was it early stages of CTE, or was it the paranoia, which is been presently made early on throughout the show, that he the paranoia he felt with, whether it was with his own you know sexuality, or the paranoia of like having to be this bigger than life thing because he has to be, and that the world around him was out to get him, because he was always the one, kind of being watched. He was the superstar. He was the one with the big name. So everybody was almost, out to get him in that sense. So it's a good watch, man. I definitely recommend it. Like I said, it's American Sports Story. I love me a good anthology series. It's going to be interesting to see what stories they continue with this to build off of. Yeah, American Sports Story, the Aaron Hernandez story. So yeah, that's been a good watch. And then what do I currently have going on? Just, yeah, continue to, as far as with work, uh headed to Chicago soon, as we prep for that event, and that all the programs there. It's gonna be it's gonna be fun. It's a new challenge, and then just continue to take everything day by day, continue to go hard in the gym, and better myself there, and continue to push myself to my push myself to the as hard as I can go, and to the best my capabilities, and what I'm capable of, and just continue to do that, and then what am I looking forward to? I think I am looking forward to Chicago, and just the experience there, this being something completely different, in the sense of where that sense of responsibility and ownership, and really being mindful of how I continue to carry carry myself, and just continue also looking forward to, different events, things throughout the city, and continue to just being the best version of myself day in and day out. Um, so as always, as you guys know, I always appreciate, the listen. As I always feel like I'm just, kind of rambling. So I always appreciate y'all listening. And until the next time, peace.